Okay, my next guest is a personal friend of mine. I'm so excited to have her here at my home in the mountains in California. This is Dr. Marie Webb, and let me tell you a little bit about her. Marie is currently a teacher trainer and certificate program coordinator for TESOL certificate programs and undergraduate diploma programs at Anaheim University. She also teaches undergrad and graduate students in the EMS program at UCSB. Marie completed her Doctor of Philosophy in English Composition and Applied Linguistics at Indiana University of Pennsylvania. She has been teaching adult English language, developmental writing, and pre-transfer composition, first-year English, and teacher training courses since 2010 in a wide range of settings in the USA, Japan, China, Macau, and South Korea, including community colleges, universities, and private language institutions. Thanks so much for coming. I
Yay,
really appreciate it.
Thank you. Thanks. Yeah.
Now, Marie and I met. Do you want to tell them the story of how we met? Where
Absolutely.
we met?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, we met back in what, 2014
I think it was.
at San Diego State. And you were one of the first colleagues that I really had a connection with at SDSU.
Yeah, we were causing a little bit of a ruckus.
We were definitely the two loud girls at San Diego State, really enjoying ourselves and just having a blast. But I remember you came up to me at the very end of one of the ACUS workshops, the cultural workshops for students about American culture.
I created a course for them called American Culture and Academic Success, and she came to join me.
Yeah, and you gave me your cell phone number, and the rest is history. Look, now it's 2020.
And we're friends.
2020.
And we are still friends. We have stood the test of time.
It's wonderful.
I'm so glad you're here. We had a lot of fun. We went biking in Big Bear today, and it was a blast. Okay, so I'm just going to launch into some of these questions. Thanks so much. I really do appreciate you coming here today. So tell me a little bit about your journey with teaching English as a second language.
Yeah, absolutely. So I just want to say one thing about like the term ESL for those that don't know.
Yeah, there's a lot of people.
A lot of us, it's English as a second language. I like to use EAL or English as an additional language, and a lot of people will hear me use the word multilingual speaker of English. Yes. A lot, so I use that term a lot because
which we are, and most of the people on this summit
everybody is. I mean,
most people on this
even
summit.
Most Americans are, right, in our own varieties of Englishes, right? So I use that term a lot, and when I very first became interested in teaching, I never thought in a million years that I would have a passion for teaching or get into it at all. I was a business major in my undergraduate program. I double majored in music just for fun, just because it always brought me joy.
I didn't know that.
And yeah, absolutely. So I always thought I would do business. That's what my family does, and do all of that world. But I was always writing. And I worked at the college newspaper for the entertainment and arts section, and I was an editor.
I can totally see you, Lois.
So
I see it.
Yeah, I was writing all these great fun articles all the time and doing the editing. And so one day I was sitting at the computer, and I was setting up this big newspaper layout for a page. You know, a lot of times we had to set up the different articles on the pages using InDesign, the computer program, and I'm in there, fiddling with this ad, and it's this advertisement for summer study in South Korea. And I'm sitting next to my colleague, and God, I'm like just really struggling getting this ad on the page, and I'm just annoyed, and I'm just bothered. I turn and I look at my colleague. I'm like, hey, what do you think about this summer study in South Korea? And the guy sitting next to me is like, oh, you should apply. I went there last summer. I got selected. I did it. And I was like, oh, really? Like, wow, that's pretty cool. Like, tell me more about it. And he told me about his whole trip out there, and it just so happened to be like the week before. It's funny that it's Thanksgiving now, because this is my 10th year anniversary of teaching. And Thanksgiving.
Awesome.
When I came across that ad, it was what, 2008, a long time ago.
Yeah.
And went home for Thanksgiving break to stay with my family. And literally, I had no clue. Literally, I showed up at my parents' house, and there were 2 Korean teachers staying in my bedroom.
What?
that were studying at UCSD. Like, I literally had no clue that these guys were going to be there. It was super last minute. I guess their homestay fell through or whatever. My parents took them in. And
It's destiny.
yeah, and they were there in La Jolla doing some training for education. They were both teachers in South Korea, and they were doing some kind of certification at UCSD.
Oh my gosh, that's so awesome.
So anyway, I knew absolutely nothing about South Korea. I didn't know where it was on a map. I didn't know about the North Korea, South Korea war. Like I didn't know any. Like South Korea was not on my radar.
Wow.
You know, like I'm a California surfer girl, very uneducated about the rest of Asia at that point. Look at me now, right? People would like never believe that.
No, they would never believe that about her now.
Never. So yeah, I connected with those two teachers and ended up getting, I talked about them in my scholarship application and ended up getting the scholarship, went out to South Korea for 2 weeks that summer, and we toured all of these companies and businesses in South Korea. One of the companies that I toured was a language school, a big giant corporation right in the center of the city. It's one of the biggest ones. Everyone knows. Yeah, YBM.
YBM.
So I mean,
Saranghae, Korea.
Yeah, ton of language schools, YBMs all over South Korea.
Okay.
So a lot of, if you ask anybody in South Korea, they'll know the name YBM or Pagoda. Those are the two big head honcho schools. Yeah. So anyway, I just loved it. Fell in love with the students, and I got a job there a year later, and that's what kind of thrust me into teaching. So and then I just never stopped, and always just had a passion for learning the culture of everybody else.
Do you know some of the language from the different countries you've lived in?
Just a little bit. I'd never spent enough time in any one country to really pick anything up. Yeah.
You just like get around, like get a taxi. And
Absolutely. Yeah.
Tell us some of the other places that you've lived and taught English.
Yeah. So I started in South Korea and came back, did my master's, and I went over to Japan after that for a little bit and taught at an all-women's university in Japan. So that was really fun.
I did know that. Yes. Yeah. Okay.
That was a good
I've
time
taught
over
and
there.
lived in Japan too. And just before we started recording, I was like, wait, you lived in Japan? But now I remember.
I knew that you knew that. I thought that you knew that.
I totally did know that. Yeah.
But we always go back to the Korean, I think.
I need to upgrade my RAM on my hard drive. But did you say Macau? Did you tell them about Macau?
Yeah, and then the last stop that I did in Asia, I mean, and this is not all consecutively. This is between, my master's, working at STSU with you, and, different stints in California.
Okay.
But I did go back out to the university in Macau for a year and taught there.
That's so awesome.
That was my last
on my bucket list. Macau. I'm coming one day.
Oh, it's beautiful, beautiful city.
Was there anything else about that journey that you wanted to share?
Well, that's how I got into it. So I mean, just in, it's funny how you fall into different things that you don't think that they're going to be for you, and they just stick with you, and you just got to keep going down that route.
You got to try it out.
Yeah,
see where it goes.
Go for it.
So what was a major challenge or obstacle that you overcame on this journey?
Yes.
Let's should we
dive
in?
Yes.
Here we go.
The big old PhD.
The PhD, the three-letter word.
The hardest thing that I have ever done in my entire life, hands down.
Okay.
But look, I'm here sitting next to you in 2020, as happy as can be.
Yeah.
Not overworked.
And you did it.
And I'm happy. Yeah. I'm done. And I finished in the middle of a pandemic.
She finished in the middle of a pandemic. You literally defended your dissertation.
I defended, right? I defended online on Zoom, which was really fun.
A Zoom dissertation, you guys. Can you imagine?
But literally the week before, like I still had my tickets to fly out there. It was just, probably about 7 days before my defense that we heard that everything was getting closed down, and everybody kept saying, "Oh, it's going to be okay. Just a couple more weeks." Yeah, and then NYU shut down, and then there goes IUP, and then UCSB was next. So that was it. So I didn't get to fly out there to defend in person. Was it nerve-wracking, or was it like better because they weren't there looking at you? Oh, I mean, I think it's nerve-wracking in general when that many people are there and they're just questioning all the work that you've done, and I mean, it's called a defense because you're defending. Yeah. You're defending. So my presentation was actually only 10 minutes. I only was allotted 10 minutes to present. And then the rest, it was probably about an hour total, but the rest of the whole defense was them basically grilling me about the research that I had done. So yeah,
just for curiosity, what was your PhD on?
Oh, my dissertation topic is pretty complex because it was interdisciplinary, but I followed 3 professors around California, which I'll talk about in my journey of it being very challenging. But I worked very closely with each one of them, met with each one of them 10 times in person. And they were teaching between writing programs and EAP, English for Academic Purpose programs. So I was studying how they identified professionally, because they live kind of within these 2 different disciplines that we house instructors in different disciplines in linguistics and writing studies. And so these teachers were unique because they were teaching between them and they were working with the multilingual student and non-multilingual student population.
Oh, that's so interesting. Okay, so do you want to tell us about the challenge?
Yeah.
The challenge.
I mean, I guess I should just start out by talking about why I decided to go get my doctorates in the first place. I think a lot of people just have a dream of going to the next level, and that's why some people decide to get their doctorates, and that wasn't my reason at all. So I always knew I wanted to be
for punishment.
I know. You don't go get your PhD just for the heck of it.
Just for fun.
You get a PhD because you want to do research. And so I've always been drawn to doing research, and I wanted to, be better equipped to go out and do it, qualitative or quantitative, with statistics and all of that good stuff. So that's why I decided to do it. And I also knew that I wanted to be a teacher educator. I wanted to train, at higher levels.
She's a great teacher, you guys.
How to teach, because it's an art, right? Your pedagogy is so important. Oh my God, he just had this scuba diving instructor who just had the best pedagogy in the world, and always was talking about how good of a teacher he is in comparison to some of the other divers. But I could see
But you'll stay alive.
It makes a difference. It makes a huge difference. So that's why I got into my doctoral program in the first place, is to, go down that route. And it's not an easy one. I mean, these days in California, it takes 10, 20, sometimes 30 years to get into that world, even post PhD.
But you're like a rocket.
But I'm staying in California, girl. I'm not leaving. I'm a California girl. So my options are limited. So it's a challenge. So I moved out to Pennsylvania in 2016 when we both ended at San Diego State.
Yeah.
We both parted ways. Yeah, that was
not from each other. Just
big moment. Yeah, we did. We did. Yeah,
I was
out in Pennsylvania. Yeah, and you moved. Yeah.
I moved up here.
Yeah.
Got married.
Yeah, so I started out there for 2 years. I had to work full time all 4 years of my doctorates, which they do not recommend because of the type of work that you're already doing and the service that you're giving to the university and things like that. But I was working full time.
Working hard.
And I switched to multiple different jobs throughout my 4 years. So now at UCSB. So, it wasn't easy. I spent my summers and my winters back in California. And then I moved back to California 2018 because I knew my research had to happen out here with the teachers that I wanted to follow. So I finished my dissertation via distance, which that's a whole nother world. You're leaving all of your colleagues that you've been with on campus for 2 years, all of your chairs, and you're doing everything via distance. So, I mean, talk about having to have autonomy.
Yeah.
Nobody's managing you.
Have to be really self-motivated.
Nobody's, pushing you to meet deadlines. Nobody's asking you to do anything. You've got to manage everything on your own. It's just like launching your own company, So that's part of the biggest challenges with any type of schooling that's distance, online, everyone can relate to that.
I think self-discipline in general is
the
hardest things to do.
It
to
is.
manage ourselves, to be our own leaders
Yeah.
is one of the hardest things.
Or to get through any kind of training that you're doing as you're working, it's a lot, to give your time, your work time, and then be trying to learn at the same time.
Yeah, really.
So it takes a lot of autonomy, and there's a lot of tips and tools that I learned, thank goodness, from my wonderful doctoral colleague who really prepped us before we left in that final course.
So you had a friend that was helping you?
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, and without that course, I don't think I would have made it. I don't think I would have made it. So
it was a course that you took that gave you
yeah. So I had one doctoral course, a lot of friends around, along the way.
Right.
But that I would check in with, just to, see how they were doing and get their advice about, where I was in my stage of the program, things like that. And of course, just you have to reach out to those people on your own. Again, no one's really going to be reaching out to you.
And it's literally on the other side of the country too.
Yeah, we were all over the world. The cool thing about my program was there was a summers only program, so some students only were there during the summers, and so they were, from around the world flew in, but yeah.
All right. So are you at the point where you want to tell us about some of your greatest advice for any of the viewers that are thinking about getting higher education, maybe a master's, a PhD, doing something tremendously difficult like this, even studying online, which a lot.
Don't do it.
But if you're if you're going to do it, would you like to know what Marie?
Absolutely do it, you guys. You have to, you got to keep learning. Yeah.
If it's on your bucket list to torture yourself to get a PhD, would you like to know her advice?
And even not a PhD, but just any type of education that you're seeking when you're working full time. Yeah. Okay, so I have like a little list of things I want to share. Okay, there's 6 things. And I'll go through some of them, and like some of the things obviously most people might know, but these are some things that really work for me. And seriously, if you do them and you stick to them, you're gonna be fine.
Yeah. It's the consistency.
I mean,
and if it's something that I need to type out, I'll put it in the chat later. Okay, guys?
Yeah, that's a good idea. So number 1 on my list is plan. So people always asked me, how I managed working full time and doing my research and my writing. Like they just didn't, like, how did you do it? And I got this question all the time from people. Yeah. Because I plan. I plan everything. So, I mean, if you go to my desk, I have Post-it notes everywhere. I make phone alarm clocks. I make my schedules months in advance for writing.
Oh, wow.
Months in advance. So I would schedule whole blocks of times and days for writing. Obviously, that's easier said than done. But it's funny because I'm reading Stephen Arstoll's book right now. Actually, I've already read the whole book.
What's the book?
But I'm reading along with my students right now. It's called The 5-Hour Workday.
Oh, The 5-Hour Workday. Okay.
It's such a great book. And one of the tips in his book was to block out certain days of your time for only doing one thing. So you're not juggling all of these tasks throughout the day.
Yeah.
So that was something that really helped me where, I knew like I had a heavy teaching day. So like that day, I was only teaching, only lesson planning, and that was it.
Okay.
I didn't do anything else on that day.
That's smart.
Exactly.
Put it in little categories.
The other day, I graded all dang day.
See, I need to do this.
That was it.
I need to like have my little pools and only do those things on that day. Because otherwise they all mix in with each other and then you don't get any of them done.
And people ask me now to, like, I have to tell you, I'm not working 8 hours a day right now. I'm not working 5 hours a day, but I have technically 2 jobs and I'm applying for other jobs,
This girl is like always working.
I am not working 8 hours a day anymore since I have stuck to this.
This is good.
But I didn't just learn this or implement this now. I implemented this during my
when
PhD.
You needed it the most, And
it stuck with me. So, and then I had like a whole day where I only wrote. So like Fridays, no matter what, those are my writing days.
Okay.
And people always tried to schedule meetings with me on Fridays, tried to get me to do this or that. No, that was my writing day, and I fought to protect that time.
Okay, that's
So
good.
so whatever, you gotta fight for yourself. You
This
gotta
is a
fight
tip
for
for
your
other
time.
people that aren't even interested in education,
Yeah.
like whatever you're doing, business, health, whatever, you have to set that time aside. Like when we were biking today, I'm in the middle of a massive launch and a huge international summit. We took the time to go and get
Yeah.
outdoors for our mental health and happiness, our body health. So you've got to plan like this. This is a tip for everybody.
So and I mean that goes for I just put on my note here, taking my next item.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Number 2, schedule time for breaks. And I know that sounds crazy, but like I literally scheduled in my family and my friends in my calendar.
Yeah.
And I asked them to schedule days and times
Okay.
with me to do things. And I know that sounds nuts. And I even had some people in my life that were like, no, I'm not gonna like schedule you it. And I'm like, then I cannot see you. And I literally didn't see those people.
But it's really important, especially for intense periods of time.
It
Those
is.
2 years where you're working for something, and some of us have really big goals, and it's like getting a rocket ship off the ground. You have to have intense focus and
It
lots
is.
of energy behind it. But once
Yeah.
it's in the air, then it's a lot easier.
Yeah, so I couldn't just be flexible with things. Oh,
Okay.
I'll see you then or there, or else I would never see them.
Yeah.
So they had to be scheduled in, and that's when I had time to hang out, right?
Yep.
And just also know you won't have time for everything, when you're really grinding on some
Right.
days, and
Yeah.
and just kind of letting that go and knowing that like I can talk about this right now because I'm on the other side and I got my whole life back.
Yeah.
Like there is a bigger light at the end of the tunnel when
Yeah.
you're really feeling like you're losing a lot of time with friends and family,
Yeah.
which I did. Anybody that has done their PhD will say they were socially inept, which I still kind of feel like I am months after finishing your PhD.
Yeah.
You just are.
Yeah.
That's the world that we lived in.
It's that cultural.
Yeah.
What do we call it when we're in another country? Not homesickness.
Yeah.
When you're like adapting, culture shock.
Culture shock.
It's culture shock.
Reverse culture
It's
shock.
reverse
Shock back
culture
into
shock.
life.
Yes.
Except for my reverse
Welcome
culture
back.
shock was into a pandemic, which was a whole nother. Okay, maximize your time and putting all tech away. So I
This
know
is a really good one that I
yeah.
really have to follow. Like, she's really good about it.
I'm really crazy about this, and I have a spreadsheet that my doctoral professor in that class shared with me, and we tracked our time for 2 weeks straight. Every single thing we did down to the minute.
Wow.
And it wasn't like I was doing this all throughout the day. There was a way to like input it like at the end of your day.
Okay.
But so, and it came up on your spreadsheet how exactly you were spending your time throughout the day on things. And I was actually really on top of things already with my time management, which was great to see. But I also did notice like my self-care time was like pretty little, or like sometimes my my social media chill time was a little bit, So there were some improvements to make,
I want to tell you, I have a coach, and he was saying the other day, I could not believe this. He turns the notifications off on all of his social media apps, even his phone, his text messages. And when he's ready to go see them, he looks at them. And I was like, wow. Because I thought like the busier you are,
I don't even have those on.
The more you have to look and whatever. So I'm really going to have to take that tip for sure.
I love that. I think it's great. Okay, number 4, find places to work that make you happy. And I did this before I left Pennsylvania. Before I moved back to California, I made a list of places that I would go and work that I knew I could be happy.
Yeah.
And so I planned like
that weren't closed down from the pandemic.
Like on Wednesdays I would go to I had a UCSB library. I still had access. So on like Wednesdays I went and worked in the USC library. If it was a cold, gloomy day, I went over to the LMU library because it overlooked the ocean. And like I would drive 40 minutes to get there because I knew I could get there and focus and get my work done.
Yeah.
And I would sit there and just enjoy myself in that environment with everybody else being productive around me.
Love it.
Which I think is very helpful in a pandemic too.
Yeah.
Like just having somebody or even people logged in online, working in the background as you're working, whatever.
Yeah, it's really hard to be productive if you're not happy. You got to find a happy spot. That's why I created the spot. there was plumbers coming in and out and all this other crazy stuff. And I was like, I'm going down. I'm going to transform this basement into a really pretty place. I brought my favorite couch down, my favorite blankets, my favorite people.
I might just look down here. Yeah, so I did a lot of that. And then I started scheduling some of my work outside, like office hours outside with my students, things like that. There's one other tip that I always love I have on my notes here. Paul Silva wrote this book on how to write a lot.
Okay.
I mean, it's a really
How to write a lot, yeah.
It's a great, fun read. And there's one line from that book, like, he just talks about being locked up in some tiny little house, having no space to work, like kids running around everywhere and whatever. Like, it's just like a total friggin' nightmare. And it's like, no, you gotta write no matter what. You gotta get your 1 hour of writing in that day. And no matter where that hour is or what the heck is going on, there's no excuse. You went in the goddamn bathroom and sat down in the bathroom, and that's it. If that's your spot to write, there's no excuse. Sit on the toilet in the bathroom and get your writing done.
Some parents know. Like their little kids' fingers are underneath the bathroom door, but they're having their quiet time.
They're getting it done, whatever it takes. So anyway, I just love that story because it's just always a reminder. Like no matter how bad or what the heck is going on, there's no excuse.
It's like the War of Art. Did you read that one? That's another good book, The War of Art. Basically, you just got to get it done. So wherever you have to do it,
you just got to sit down and go do it. Yeah. Number 5, say no to things that don't bring you joy.
Okay.
Which it was always hard for me to say no to things because I was always getting asked to do more and more things as I progressed throughout my career. And I still do this summer. So, like this summer, I only took on 1 to 2 journal reviews where I got invited to like 5 to 6. So, and I knew that those things weren't going to bring me extra joy in my life. And that's it. I said no. I started saying no to other things that weren't going to bring me happiness. So
that book that you were just asking me about, Spark Joy, I applied Spark Joy by Marie Kondo. She's kind of taking the world by storm. I read that before it was kind of famous. My sister got it for me. I totally applied that to planning my wedding. I wouldn't plan anything that didn't spark joy. I wouldn't say yes to things that didn't spark joy. So I think it's really important, that whole point of
it's hard because like you're trying to get yourself out there and progress your career and like be known and you want more people to know you out there, but the more
you have to be clear on what really makes you happy so that you can stay on the right path for yourself.
Yeah. And
otherwise you'll meander down rabbit trails.
You can't give yourself to everybody. You know, you just can't. So you got to pick and choose who you're going to give your time to.
It's like mental health to pick the people that are
you could say
contributing
yes
to your happiness.
And then my last item on my list is, one more thing for anybody who is doing their doctorates before I move on was, this is kind of crazy, but like I literally just stopped going to these professional conferences in my last, literally just stopped in my last 2 years because I got so burnt out on trying to like prepare for attending those and to present or even just to, do the application to get there, to get funding or any of it. It was sucking extra time out of my life. And so people were like, oh, Marie, are you going to TESOL this year? And I'm like, no, I'm not going. Are you going to make a TESOL in the fall? No, I'm not going.
So for other people, like stop going to all the business summits, stop watching all the webinars, focus on the one that is, on your path to happiness or meaning or purpose. Don't listen to all of them. Don't sign up for all of them. That's the equivalent. Yeah. Right? Like don't sign up to do
even if there's a time and it might not work for everybody. My resume had been beefed up with all that stuff so I'm a little luckier in that way. But it really distracts you from your end goal.
Yeah. Not when you're trying to do something intense like get a business off the ground, get your PhD.
Yeah.
Finish a book. We've got some authors coming on this summit.
Yeah.
So that's really good advice. True.
It was hard, but because I was so used to every year. That's what I did. Yeah. I prepared to go to, and I got accepted to AAAL in March to present. Yes. And so I'll be going to that. That'll be my first big one back.
You are? Okay.
And I'm presenting about my dissertation research
She's
there,
great.
which will be
Keep
exciting.
that.
I'm excited. That's my first AAAL presentation, 2021. So yay!
Awesome.
My last item on my list
Tell us.
was don't let other people tell you you shouldn't or can't do something. And I know that kind of sounds broad. So like within my doctoral program, I'll be specific about that. So like when I first joined, they said, don't work full time, don't start a brand new job anywhere, don't move. I did all three of those things.
That's true.
And I did all three of those things.
And you're like, oh, by the way, I'm also going to move back to California and finish it online.
And I had a extra job, my teacher training job, on top of that.
Yeah.
But when good things come your way, you don't say no, you don't turn them down. So, I picked up my gig at UCSB and thank goodness I said yes.
Yeah. And now she's teaching there. And
picked up my life, moved after moving, back. I was living in Los Angeles, moved again. So I moved, 4 or 5 times in 4 years.
UCSB, for anybody that's not from California or America, is University of California, Santa Barbara. It is so beautiful. It's right on the ocean. I rode my bike all over up there. It's so beautiful.
It's beautiful.
Yeah.
It really is. Yeah, I'm very lucky to be there. So part of that is knowing your own limits. And I had moved around a lot prior to that. I had taught at a lot of other schools before that where I felt comfortable and, believed that I was smart enough to accomplish what I accomplished and still take everything else on.
Yep.
So knowing your limits, is really important for anybody that's going to continue
it's
on
a really
education.
hard thing to learn.
And it is.
Yeah.
And not over pushing yourself. So I knew when I had to, I did quit one job, at one point, and back off a little bit. So knowing your limits, but also being confident in yourself and knowing that when you're smart about certain things and have certain relationships with other people, then don't let other people tell you that you can't or shouldn't do things. So girl, I did it all. I did everything they said don't do. And in March, I was the only person in my entire cohort to graduate in 4 years. Nobody else in my cohort even finished in 4 years.
That's awesome.
They're all still trying to, nobody has even graduated yet in my cohort.
I think part of the reason is you also have emotional resilience.
I do. Yeah, you have to just pick yourself up,
especially when you're going through a pandemic and all the other stuff.
Keep trudging forward. You got to keep going. So I just knew that I had my timeline, and I wanted to stick and just push to make things happen within my timeline, and that meant that things weren't going to be perfect. And that was okay with me. That things weren't exactly perfect.
It's hard to let things not be perfect, because those are the things that we usually procrastinate about.
Absolutely.
Most people do.
Yeah.
Me, myself included.
Absolutely.
So you have to just be like, okay, it's good.
Yeah.
Done is better than perfect, we say a lot in my coaching program.
I had so many things go wrong. Like when I was even just trying to get my participants I went to 3 universities to get institutional, we call them IRBs, but institutional review board protocols accepted from those universities before I could go and conduct my research there. People who wouldn't process my IRB, oh, there goes my participant, and they're really hard to find.
Yeah.
So I had to scratch her, go find someone else, and those bumps along the road can really set you back.
Yeah.
Really push back your timeline.
And what did you do?
That's it. I had to go find someone else,
So you let yourself grieve it for a minute.
Yeah.
And then you just went and
Of course,
got
it was frustrating because
Yeah.
all of the time I put in to working with that person and working with that university,
Yeah.
and then that, all that time I lost, and then I gotta go do it again.
Yeah.
But I just didn't let it stop me. Okay, if I'm gonna finish within my timeline of 4 years, I got it. What am I gonna do to fix this right now? So that day when I found out, I was, emailing someone else right away, 2 seconds. Don't
Wow,
skip a
the
beat.
same day.
Wow. That's it. No skipping beats. And then you know me. I know, and I see your dream board over there.
Yeah. Oh yeah,
office,
I do.
But
I have a vision board.
Set up your dream board too. That's
Oh,
part
you
of
have that on
my,
there?
part of your. You shouldn't let anybody else tell you can't do something.
Yeah.
But having a dream board will help you visualize that.
Do you keep one digital,
yourself.
like on your phone, or?
I used to have like I like a old school poster version of one.
Yeah.
And then I made like a different one that I drew in my doctoral class that I was telling you about. And so I stuck to that one. And that was like a 5-year one.
I wrote myself a letter also in addition to that vision board.
See,
and I recorded myself reading it to myself.
Isn't that weird?
But I wrote it and then I read it to myself. It's recorded on my phone, and I listen at least once a week.
Oh, see, that's dedication.
Because I want to remember this is who I am.
Yeah.
This is where I'm going. This is what I want.
It's important.
You know?
I'm a visual person. I want to see it in front of me every day. I have it. I can
that's
just
why I have it over
at
there.
it, and I accomplished everything on my dream board. My first one except for one thing in my personal life, but everything that I wanted to accomplish.
To see it first, to believe it. And a lot of people say that you have to see it to believe it. But what I mean is you have to believe it to see it, like manifest in your life.
Yeah.
And to build that faith, it's so much easier if you have something tangible to look at.
It is.
You know, another thing, and I'll share this with you guys too, that I did was I created a private Instagram profile just for myself called Ginger's Vision Board. And I put a bunch of pictures in there of things that I would have put like on a physical vision board. And I look at that from time to time too, and it's really helpful. I've also heard from Hal Elrod's Miracle Morning, the Miracle Morning. It's like a Savers technique where you visualize things. They record on their phone. They record music and pictures, and they make a little YouTube video for themselves of their vision for their future. So that's a really good tip on making a vision board too. There's different ways to do it for different people that respond to different things. Did you have something else golden for us?
No, those are my 6 items.
We are almost done.
That's it.
Thank
if you
you
can
so
follow
much for
those
all of
6
that.
steps, you will make it through working full time and doing any kind of education, even if it's not your PhD, but any kind of education, and if you can just stick to it, you're going to be okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And people will be calling you doctor.
They'll be called, or whatever, you'll be on your next, better position in your life or whatever it is you're working on. Yeah.
I agree. All right. Just for fun at the end, tell us some fun things about yourself, your hobbies, your favorite things to do.
Yeah. So
we have a lot in common in this area.
It's funny because people, like especially my students and my older colleagues, like when they find out when I'm a you hear it in my
she's
voice
a Cali girl
all the time. My California surfer girl lingo, that's the real me.
Yeah.
I'm a surfer girl.
She's a surfer girl.
I love being in the water. I'm paddleboarding and scuba diving.
Big paddleboarding fans.
And I just got back into surfing after my doctorates, and it's just brought so much joy back to my life.
I saw you got like videos going on that.
Oh yeah, my little surf bits. Yeah, so I record all of my friends out there surfing a lot lately. And it's so fun because they get all this cool footage.
I'm gonna get out there with her. I was only brave enough to do it in Hawaii. I haven't tried it in California. I even lived in San Diego all that time.
It's something that really rocks you sometimes. I mean, I surf in really great conditions all summer in California, really little waves, and it's really beautiful and warm out, but if you go out in the winter when the waves are bigger, it can really rock you and be like a really terrifying.
Have you ever seen animals out there?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Sharks,
dolphins, all the time. We don't. Surfers don't talk about sharks. Come on.
Oh, okay.
No, we don't go there.
So bears in the wild.
Turtles out there.
Have you?
Sometimes, yeah.
How big?
Yeah. Oh, just
what's
a
like
little.
the biggest? Oh, little one.
Yeah.
What's the coolest place you've ever surfed?
I surfed once in Bali, Indonesia.
Oh wow! Bucket list.
Yeah.
What's your favorite place you've ever traveled?
That's it's too hard for me because there's just so many beautiful places.
There's so many countries listening, so you're gonna offend somebody.
I know.
You might as well have it done.
I don't like those or the favorite place that I've taught because they're all so unique.
Yeah.
And I like each one of them for different like periods of my life. in my adulthood.
Yeah.
You know, so it's too hard to pick.
Yeah,
one.
that's a hard
It
one.
really is. Yeah.
I was going to ask you one other thing. Where should people get in touch with you if they want to know more,
Absolutely.
or if they wanted to hire you for your services? Because I heard that you are helping people.
Yeah,
with their
absolutely.
writing.
Yeah, I mean, I can coach on writing. I can coach on anyone who needs help with language skills. I can also coach on just getting your dissertation done.
Yeah.
If you're doing writing, especially writing in higher ed, or if you're doing any kind of academic journal publishing.
Mhm.
Those are things that I just enjoy doing in my life on the side.
Yeah, and you're good at it.
And I am.
I'm gonna
I
write it
guess.
in the chat.
My
when this goes
citations
live.
are picking up on Google Scholar. Yeah.
Tell us what it is so that I can make sure I type it in the
Yeah,
chat.
so everyone can visit me on marie-webb.weebly.com.
Okay, MARIE-WEBB.com.
And so marie-webb.weebly.com, and then my email's Marie. I just use my weebly.com.
Okay.
And I just use my personal email address, mariewebb8@gmail.com.
The number 8. Okay.
Yeah,
Thank you so much. This has
Very
been so
welcome.
great. We really appreciate you and your
It's so
6
fun.
tips on overcoming and transforming your life. Would you say that you are you're living your dream right now?
I am. And I mean, anybody like that gets into education or that's looking to grow their knowledge in any field or area, you know, like education as an educator who trains other educators is a lifelong journey.
Yeah.
So, and that's like one of the biggest things that I remind my students of, myself of, when I'm impatient.
Just go ahead, keep learning.
Is we are, you know, you don't just become something and then stop.
Yeah.
You're always learning.
Yeah.
And those are the people who go the farthest in life. That's something my father always taught me in life. You know, Dad, how do you know about this stuff, you know? And I go and I figure it out. I go and I learn about it.
Yeah.
Right. And so we're never done learning. So
that's why I hired a coach.
We'll always be
I have
learning.
to make this pivot and do something different.
Yeah.
I'm learning.
And it's
all
hard.
kinds of stuff right
we
now.
got to succumb to let other people help us learn sometimes. Yeah.
And other people need to help you.
Yeah.
Like there are people that they need to do that. And we all have somebody that we need to help up and lift up from the places that they're at. So you got to let them help you. Reach out to people, resource up, that sort of thing. Yeah. Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. I've had so much fun. Now we're going to go.
Me too.
Roast marshmallows in the
let's go roast some
fireplace. We're going to roast
marshmallows.
marshmallows in the fireplace. Maybe watch a Christmas movie or something. I don't know. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it, Marie.
Absolutely.
Thanks, you guys. I'm going to put her website in the chat, and any books you want to recommend. I like to ask.
Oh, you guys have to read Stephen Arstle's 5-Hour Workday. I know it sounds ridiculous, but you have to read that book.
Yeah.
It's incredible. You know how I have the book? I bought a paddleboard in San Diego at Tower Paddleboards this summer.
Yeah.
And well, he's the owner of the company, Stephen Arstle. He's on Shark Tank. So everyone knows him from Shark Tank. But he sells a copy of his book when you buy a paddleboard.
He does?
So when I bought my paddleboard, I got the book.
And you're like, that sounds like a good.
Oh my God, it's great. My students are loving reading that book right now.
I've read Tim Ferriss's 4-Hour Work Week, but this is how do you say his last name?
Stephen Arstle.
Arstle.
Arstol.
The 5-hour
workday.
Yep. So I'm gonna put all that in the chat when this goes live. Thank you so much. Let's
welcome.
go have fun.
All right, let's do it.
Thanks, guys.
Yay! I thought that went really good.